Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Dark Nature, and this is a new horror film that tells the story of a therapy group that is forced to confront the monsters of their past when their isolated weekend retreat tests their emotional resilience and ability to survive when a dark entity gets involved. And this is from writer-director Berkeley Brady, and stars we have Madison Walsh as our best friend, who brings her friend Hannah Emily Anderson's character, who winds up being a victim of abuse and by her boyfriend, who she escapes, and they go on this weekend. And this movie's only like an hour 25 minutes or so, and a big chunk of it is setting up like this group and the support group. And I have to say, this is one of the most tone-deaf, horrible films about abuse and getting therapy, and just, it seems like the most uninformed person around decided they were going to write a movie about how therapy works. And every single character in this group is extremely judgmental and horribly destructive towards our main character. And there's moments in the film where she's made to feel like it's her fault, and that, like, her best friend, for example, just cannot handle her not being able to handle her abuse and getting over it. And never does this film really feel like it gives our main character that moment where she's listened to or acknowledged that what she's going through is hard. And this movie is so condescending down at her, and these characters are horrible, so horribly unlikable. You're just sitting there like, at one point I'm like, I hope they start getting picked off by whatever the hell's in these woods. And they're all having like these horrible nightmares, some shared nightmares, and visions of their past trauma. And you're like, is this involved with the dark entity? Is this just coincidence that they're all experiencing all these like trauma flashbacks? And that's the thing about the antagonist of this film, that turns out to be this entity, which is very obviously supposed to be like they're abused, that's lingering, and their trauma. But it's pretty nondescript looking, and not particularly interesting, and really undefined exactly what it does, because there's so many questions left open about certain things that go on in the film. And sure, it gets bloody, it gets brutal. I wouldn't necessarily say this film ever becomes legitimately scary, which is also a problem for a film that is a horror film, but it horribly fails on every level in terms of writing, that once like the actual horror elements kick in, I was just so mad at this film, and that none of the horror elements really landed in an impactful way either. This film turned out to be extremely frustrating experience that I got mad at it. It was so in bad taste in terms of how it handles trauma and getting therapy and support. So in the end, I really don't recommend this movie. I think this is a horribly misguided film that doesn't even hit on the genre elements that it's attempting. But those are my thoughts on Dark Nature. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.